Whenever you're making a craft project that requires or calls for a leaf, whether it's a floral arrangement or something else, wouldn't it be fun to make something that's unique, has character, and a little charm? I'm Jan Howell from YouMakeItSimple.com, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you different ways and different techniques and materials that you can use to make up some really quaint, charming leaves for your project. I'm going to show you how to make several different types of leaves and show you different fabrics and materials that you can use to make the leaves. This particular one I've used for my upcycled pumpkins, sweater pumpkins, and this is a vein cutout type of leaf that I'll show you how to make. And this is used on my cherries. And we'll use the blanket stitch. You can use the sewing machine or a blanket stitch by hand. And I'm going to show you how to make a long, skinny lily type leaf using a bamboo skewer or stem wire. This is the mistletoe type leaf using the wire as well, so you can bend them and get different shapes. And just a basic embroidered leaf, two-toned, using embroidery floss, or you can use a sewing machine. So let's go over a few of the things that you'll need. Of course, you'll need the material to make the leaf, and I have several different recommendations. There's just your regular, the inexpensive felt that you can get from most craft stores. If you're making a project that needs to be durable or something that you will be using to hold something together, I would use a more durable type of felt, like a wool felt. They are a little bit more expensive, but they do hold up a lot better. But if you're making simple crafts and most leaf projects, this kind of felt will do. And just use different shades. As you can see, it's fun to mix and match different shades to put them together. And one of my favorite things to do is to get into my bin of upcycled sweater scraps and find some fun shades of green, and they can really add some fun character to your projects. So decide what kind of leaf you want to make and get your felt out, and I'll put some links in the description of where you might be able to find some good quality wool felt. You'll need a pair of scissors, a nice pair of fabric scissors to cut out your felt with. If you are embroidering, you'll need some different shades of embroidery floss and an embroidery needle. If you're making a leaf that needs a stem, this cloth stem wire is really nice. You can get it in 18 gauge or 20 gauge, depending on how durable that needs to be. I find for most projects a 20 gauge or an 18 gauge is great. You can use tacky glue, or you can of course use your glue gun. The first leaf we're going to go over is the vein cutout leaf, and you'll just be cutting out 2 leaves. And I like to just cut them out the same size, and then we'll be cutting away the top layer. So kind of keep in mind what layer you want to have as the veins. Usually it's the darker color, but you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to put the darker color on top because that will be the vein. And you could sit and draw out the veins where you want them to be, but I'm just going to eyeball it and use the sewing machine and just stitch with a straight stitch where I want those veins to be, keeping in mind that we'll be cutting away around the stitching. So just kind of keep in mind what design you would like to make. I put green thread and green bobbin thread in my machine. Just going to start there down at the bottom of the leaf. So I'm going to have a bunch of cut threads, but I'll worry about those later, cutting those and trimming those later. So I'm just going to come back down here where I want that first vein to come out. Just put your needle down so you know where that is coming out. And I'm going to just stitch up and out. Now keep in mind, if you don't want the vein to come all the way to the edge of the leaf, which you probably don't, make sure that you're stopping a little bit in front of the edge. And it's kind of nice not to have it so symmetrical that it looks, you know, we want to make it a little bit more artistic and a little bit more creative. So you can kind of get an idea, and then this is where the magic happens. We'll go and get our scissors. It's nice to have a pair of scissors that have a pointy edge, a small pointy edge. These are a little bit larger than I would like, but they will work just fine. So what I'm going to do is cut away that top layer close to the seams that I've just sewn. Just go back on the underside and clip all your threads. So there you have the vein cutout method. Obviously you can use that for different sizes and different shapes of leaves. Really fun way to add texture and character to a custom leaf for your projects. The next one we'll go over is just a simple two-toned leaf with a blanket stitch. And you can use, if your sewing machine has that sewing stitch available, it's really easy to use and really makes a nice stitch. So check out your machine, it's a blanket stitch. Just simply goes around the edge of the fabric that you're appliquing on. If you don't have that, you can do it by hand. I've cut out 2 layers in 2 different colors, and I'm going to blanket stitch around that inner leaf. So I've adjusted my stitch on my sewing machine to the blanket stitch. There's a couple different varieties. Change the width and the length to what suits you. You can just kind of play around with it before you stitch. Turn your needle down so it comes down right on the edge of your leaf, and make sure that it's, when it stitches over, that it will be the width that you want. Just follow the edge of your leaf around. Leave your needle in, lift up your presser foot and pivot. Then I'm going to sew a vein just down the center with a straight stitch. So I'll change my setting back to just a straight stitch, and I'm just going to eyeball it. Back stitching so your stitch doesn't come out. Look how nicely that sews around and so fast. Then I'm just going to cut around depending on how much you want that dark piece to show. There you have a nice cute two-toned blanket stitch edge So cute. Isn't that just fun? Now, if you don't have that stitch on your machine, most machines do, it's a pretty basic stitch, but you can do that by hand. And I'm just going to show you on this piece that I've already started. To make that a little easier to handle, you could still do that square piece behind, but I've already got this cut out, and so I'll just show you on this. I have single threaded 3 strands of embroidery floss and knotted the end. A quick way to knot the end is just to roll it or wrap it around your finger once and roll it between your fingers and then pull, and then you'll have a knot. So I've taken a stitch, let the knot be between the 2 layers, about 1/4 inch from the edge. Just going to poke it down on into the edge of the leaf there, and then I'm going to poke it back up in the same place. And then I'll be able to begin my stitching. So the next stitch I'm going to take, I'm going to come across about 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch away from the edge, bring my needle out along the edge there, and make sure the thread is on the inside, and it'll catch that and create that edge. I'm just going to do that all the way around. You can make these stitches as big or as small as you want. I'm just going to sew a straight back stitch down the center of the leaf. And I have instructions for that back stitch in another tutorial if you're not sure how to do that. And if I wanted a little bit more contrast, I could have used a little bit darker thread. And to knot that off, I'll just take a little stitch, leave a loop, wrap my needle around once or twice, and gently pull it, poke my needle out between the layers, and cut my thread. And there you have a really cute embroidered blanket stitch edge leaf. Now to make the long, narrow lily leaf, I'm going to take my stem wire, place it about halfway. You'll want some of the stem to go in a vase and some to poke out for the flower. And I'm going to go about halfway, or maybe even 3/4 up the stem, applying just a little bit of glue along the stem in the center of the leaf. Being careful not to burn your fingers, just fold in the leaf, and we'll see if that's high enough. Or you could have gone a little bit lower, and then you can just bend that, and you attach your flower to the top there, and that leaf will just fall open. So lots of different ways you can do that, make it each stem maybe a little bit different, and you can either leave that like that, or you can trim off a little bit of that bulk. So there's that narrow leaf. You can also take a bamboo skewer and paint it green if you want something a little bulkier, and then use your bamboo skewer just like you would the wire. To apply a wire to the back of any leaf so that you can bend it and shape it like I have with this mistletoe leaf, you can do that with any leaf. I'm just going to demonstrate on this particular leaf here that I've made. Go to the back side and place the your wire, your floral wire, down the center, and just adjust a zigzag stitch to the width that will go over the wire without hitting it, and zigzag from the edge of the leaf down to the point of the leaf, back stitching at both ends. So there you have it. A few leaf ideas for your felt projects. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel so you can stay updated on upcoming tutorials and classes.